ओके ग्रामी के बाद बोला था बेबी बाद नहीं सुना तुम For a person who does not like reflecting back, it's a lot of baggage to carry.
Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Ctrl+Alt+Rec, and today we have a few interesting topics for you, and we have also had a special challenge that we undertook last week where we were tasked to use our Xiaomi Pad 7 as our exclusive device, replacing our laptops for an entire week. So Anuj and I are here to discuss that as well as a few other topics and see whether or not this has actually managed to replace our laptop. So stay tuned for that towards the end, but now I just wanted to start with a topic, Anuj, which everyone's talking about, which is the budget for 2025 that's been recently unveiled. And of course, the key highlight is the fact that now there's no tax for individuals up to an income of rupees 12,75,000 technically. What are your thoughts on the overall budget as well as this particular highlight that I just spoke about?
From overall budget, I think there's a whole lot of things that happened. I think there are some changes in terms of duties and stuff like that. So we're still looking at, how that could impact us. But just the fact that you'll have more money in hand, a large majority of the taxpayers essentially are falling in that under 12 lakh kind of a category in India. So for them to have this extra money obviously helps out quite a lot. Rents are going up, food prices are going up. So, I think it helps everyone with your basics. So I think a good move overall. Hopefully should also boost up consumption while easing pressure of families and individuals. So good stuff.
And I think, like you rightly mentioned, one is this particular highlight, which is up to 12 lakh 75 whatever. But even above that, because earlier on 15 lakh plus was automatically in a 30% tax slab. Now you have two additional ones. So 16 to 20 is 20%. 20 to 24 is 25%, and it's only above 24 where 30% slab comes in. So I think it's a good change. I think, overall, I think quite positive, and hopefully we'll see, a much better sort of outlook even for the middle class as we see it. I think moving on to the next topic, we just saw the announcement of the S25 series from Samsung, right? Three devices as usual, 25, 25 plus, and the Ultra. What are your thoughts on that overall?
Interesting devices. I think they have doubled down on what was working for them, and they've removed a couple of things here and there. I think the anti-reflective displays on the Ultras have been like a standout feature, where they're able to win without really having the numbers in terms of nits and all that, right? So that's very interesting. I think I saw a lot of debate on the sharp corners versus rounded corners. I think the new one is slightly better, but overall, I think for the last 4-5 years, the Samsung S series has stayed the same. The iPhone series has stayed the same. I think everyone's kind of finding their design language is just sticking with it. And this also could be connected to the fact that consumers are not upgrading their devices as quickly. So they're still probably in that generation. So anyone who bought a S23 or a S22 are maybe perhaps still using it. Anyone who bought an iPhone 13 Pro Max is probably still using it, and hence they've not really needed to change that design language too much. So overall, good devices. Again, incremental bumps for the things I think they really cared about.
So I think from a design perspective, just a thought, like in the automotive industry also, you do see that obviously the upgrade cycles are much longer, but any brand does stick to that sort of design language for a longer period of time, right? And that's one, to maintain that uniformity and that brand identity across models. And second, because like you said, right now maybe I think tech has also sort of reached a point where there are not too many things happening every year on year, where the changes are kind of incremental in most parts. So earlier I would say the sort of design of form was dictated by function as well. When you automatically needed two cameras, you change the design. When you needed a larger display, you change the design, you remove the buttons and so on and so forth. But right now, because all of that is staying the same, you can only change so little. So I think that's fine. But I think some of the other things that people are talking about, one, the removal of Bluetooth in the S Pen, which was also a bit confusing because I saw people say there's an optional accessory you can buy which enables that. But Samsung has not confirmed.
I don't think that would be the case. Maybe my read probably is that that got listed as an accessory while assuming similar text. So they didn't change it, but it could, I could be wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Maybe
there's no
it's,
clarity on that, but yeah, I don't know how many people used it.
yeah. I mean, this one's got that Bluetooth laser pointer kind of a thing, right? Use it once or twice, maybe during presentations, but not as often.
Not as often. I think similar, and but then what about the rest of the device? AI is something that they're double dipping on this year also, and last year that was the main change that they were heroing. This year also the same. How do you think that's going to pan out?
I so right now AI on phones is incremental in a way. It helps out in a few things here and there, right? Nothing significant. Uh, can that AI move on device? And that could be interesting. So over the last week, I have also been trying out DeepSeek.
Okay.
And DeepSeek AI and their model,
Yeah.
essentially you can actually run it offline.
Right.
Yeah, so you can download the entire AI model, run that on your machine. If that, and most of your flagships are 256 GB, 512 GB, they have enough
Right.
storage.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the DeepSeek model does not need that much of processing power either. If that starts coming onto phones, that AI could be very, very interesting. Uh, right now, I think it just helps incrementally, right? You can change your wordings, you can tweak
Yeah.
around with the images, helps you with transcriptions and things like that. It's good, it's helpful. These are additional tools. I don't think we've seen the full AI capabilities in most of our consumer devices yet.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Now on to the part that we have been, sort of hyping, and this entire past week, Anuj, you took up the challenge to replace your laptop with the Xiaomi Pad 7, and you sort of dared both Gautam and I to also do it. And I think it's been an interesting week. Would like to hear your impressions first about how it's going. Has it replaced already, or will it replace, or will it not replace? What are your thoughts so far?
So last week I was actually traveling, right? So I did not really take my laptop at all. So I didn't have an option but to use this. Uh, I think one, this definitely has more battery life than my laptop. So really helpful while traveling. Right? Second, because I actually have a HyperOS device, so the data connectivity is flawless, right? So it was, whenever I click on the Wi-Fi thing, the phone pops up as a hotspot. I end up using it. I remember, I think somebody on Twitter was kind of saying that, oh, we should have had a 5G tablet instead, and putting a SIM there is more convenient. My view is, yes, it's obviously convenient, right? But for the tech savvy people that this pad is targeted towards, using the phone hotspot is probably a lot more efficient. And let me explain this. So when you have, so this one, if you had 5G, it'll be always on 5G unless you switch off the data every time or you put it in airplane mode, which you will not do, right? So essentially your 5G is going to be running 24/7 mostly. But when I use my phone hotspot to kind of pull in the data, yes, the phone battery gets hit, but only for the time that I'm using this pad. So that's something I liked. And if I was probably, getting this for my dad or someone like that who's not very comfortable with hotspots, I would have probably picked the 5G one. But that's where the Redmi Pad Pro comes in. So that's something I liked. Second, I think I got almost everything working here. And Instagram actually looks much better on the pad. So the interface for the tablets is different from the phone interface, right? And if you open that Instagram on an iPad, it's just the phone. Yeah. So I think that social media apps, it does really well. Most of our work documents are on an internal tool, so they are cloud based. I didn't really see a problem. I tried to make a presentation though on PowerPoint, and Microsoft needs to fix their app. So if you are completely dependent on, say, Microsoft offline apps, a tablet is still not up to it. But if you are using, say, Google Docs or something like that, then it doesn't make a difference. So I think for 80-90% of the people out there, unless you are completely only on Microsoft Office, I mean, that works. It's readable. But for example, if I go to Excel and start kind of doing calculations and formula, that does not really work well yet.
Mostly limited use case for PowerPoint and Excel only. Like a Word doc and all that, you can still play around with it easily and all. And Outlook is
But
also
I
quite
mean,
accessible.
it's not, those apps are not built very well for the pad. But for example, I was saying Google Docs, or for example, the one that we use internally, I think that works flawlessly. Actually, that sometimes works better on the pad for some reason, because I'm also able to use my pen. So yeah, I think overall quite doable. We don't really work too much on Office,
Excel.
Excel or PPT.
Yeah.
So for us, I think it's quite doable. I'm actually going to extend this for another week and see.
All right. Gautam, your thoughts?
I I mean I took the challenge, but I have not yet fully committed myself because I also had this thought of whether I would be able to pull off a PPT on it or not. But I've been using it extensively, and I feel that at least for me, I mean I was on Pad 6 earlier, so this keyboard really feels nice to me. It's heavy, but it feels really nice. It feels very sturdy. My daughter seems to like it a lot because she keeps on tapping this keys and all that. But I still find that experience great, and also the AI functionality is pretty cool. So that's the new thing coming from the Pad 6 basically. So I had to use it. So I think in Notes app it actually works really well. So you can actually, even in the launch video that we did, we kind of showcase those use cases. But it actually does work well. I mean, you can ask it to create anything. At one point I was like, funnily I was trying to basically write down like random stuff and then ask it to make it into a LinkedIn post on what did I learn about time management and all that from feeding my dog or feeding a cat or something. But I gave up on that idea because it's still LinkedIn.
R/LinkedIn lunatics.
Yeah, maybe I'll post it there. No, but you have to post it on LinkedIn to go there.
What about you?
So I started off, I think, with similar apprehension. I was not sure whether I will be able to replace it. So I always had my laptop in my bag. But for the past week, I've not actually touched it, which is except for once where I had a file that was there locally that I had to take. I actually ended up using this the most. And I think two things that sort of, stuck out for me. One is the fact that I realized anyway, most of the time I'm using it either at home or at work, in which case Wi-Fi is already there. And in the off chance that maybe you're in a coffee shop or anywhere else, Wi-Fi, you can automatically trigger it, right? Second bit, like if like you rightly mentioned, all the apps are actually well optimized on this. So whether it's our work app here when we are working, or when you go back home, even the entertainment apps, they actually work really well on this compared to say a laptop, for instance, right, where you go through a browser, etc. So I think that's good. Battery life has been great, and I'm getting maybe 2 days of heavy usage. This is with meetings, with note taking, with content watching, YouTube, everything mixed together. 2 full days of heavy usage is what I'm getting. And one thing which I did not really end up using much is the touchpad on this. I thought I'll use it a lot, and my reason actually slightly different from yours. I ended up connecting my mouse to this. So I like that combo of having a keyboard and mouse.
I'm going to try that though.
So if that is there, then like you did, I would probably be okay with that keyboard because that's lighter and still gives you the full keyboard. And by the way, the keyboard is much better than I expected.
Yeah,
Good
the key
travel.
travel is
Yeah,
really
key
good.
travel
Yeah.
is quite good. And it didn't take me a lot of time to get used to it.
Yeah.
I was immediately able to shift from the laptop to this. And I think even with this, it's still a lighter and more uh, portable sort of setup. So I didn't mind taking it into meetings as much as possible.
One thing that, I mean, one obviously for me that was
Yeah.
a little too heavy,
Yeah.
and I wanted to travel as light as possible, so I actually took this one.
Yeah.
So it's quite handy.
Yeah.
One thing that could have been improved with this is some kind of way to hold this pen.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree.
So when in the airport, put it in the tray,
It just
and
comes
and
off.
and something knocked this out because I was putting so many things, unfortunately, uh, and I almost forgot it on the tray.
Yeah.
Right. So some kind of a flap or some kind of a
The
hook would have been really
cover
good.
actually has it. The regular cover
Yeah,
has the flap.
the
I think
origami cover.
this was also feedback that Nimish Dubey had posted on Twitter saying that ideally, but I think that's a valid feedback. We should figure out something.
So some kind of a small flap or something would have been nice. Otherwise, so while coming back, what I did was before putting it on the tray, I just pulled this out, kept it in my bag. because this is not going to get flagged off.
Correct. Yeah, interesting. And finally, nano texture
Hmm.
thoughts so far.
Uh, I would say it's incredible for the traveling part.
Hmm.
So I watched a movie on flight, so I downloaded something on Netflix. Uh, for a while, I thought, why does this look less than optimal?
Hmm.
And then I realized that I had put the download settings at low res.
Oh.
So
Okay.
then next time I had to kind of fix it. Uh, I could actually watch a movie on flight,
Hmm.
and I had
Without the
I had a
reflection.
day flight, so without any reflections, without anything else coming in, it was good. But considering its nano texture and the way it kind of handles light, I would say that it's about 85-90% of that contrast
Hmm.
that you see with the regular one.
Hmm.
Right? So
Hmm.
it does kind of end up compromising a little bit.
Hmm.
If I would probably put that, if you put a matte display,
Yeah.
it gets cut down to like about a 65-70%.
Correct.
Right? So this is closer to the actual display
Hmm.
without any reflections, but you will see a difference.
Hmm.
Right? A slight difference would be there, and you should be okay with that if you're getting a nano texture, considering the benefits.
Yeah.
Like once or twice, I was actually out
Yeah.
in the sun or in the cab. Right? In the cab, if you've tried to kind of read something, the amount of reflections that come onto a pad are insane. So that was really good.
Yeah.
Another problem with the nano texture one that I saw was because of this different display material itself is cleaning it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? Uh, so obviously it's a specialized material. You have to take care of this texture, and hence I think there's that microfiber cloth in the box, right? So that helps,
Yeah.
but it's not very easy to remove,
Hmm.
right? So it's a little more prone to fingerprints, and this is where I think the touchpad becomes much more useful.
Yeah.
So you have to clean this, but
So
then
I also didn't notice that much because of the mouse, perhaps. So I
correct.
was not using it as much. Yeah.
I was using everything on the
Uh-huh.
pad, so I saw that part coming in. But if you ask me today to go back to a regular tablet, I am not moving.
Yeah.
Right? So at least for me, the benefits far outweigh the
Yeah.
negatives.
Yeah. And for me also, I was doing a bunch of editing when I was actually on the go. I was outside that harsh light because I was shooting something on the phone, and then I was using the interconnectivity feature, and I could actually edit it locally here. So whatever is on the phone, the gallery comes here, edit, save, does everything really really well, and that also helped having that
You know,
nano texture.
what this would be really cool is
Yeah.
if you could put it on your car dash.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's true.
Maybe for the entertainment unit at least, because that's more prone to
For
getting.
example, on the SU7, you can put it on the back, right? It interconnects.
Yeah. And you get the full UI and everything there. That's true.
I'm
And
using the glossy one because
yeah, that's
most
what I
of
was
the
just
time,
about to ask.
yeah. So I actually picked it specifically because I did not really have any travel plans or something. I did travel once with it, and I did miss the nano texture at that point of time. But most of the time, I think it's fine. Plus, my daughter with her greasy hands make this also nano texture a lot of time, and I'm like cleaning it and wiping it.
Yeah.
So I think, but somehow I just like the feel of the gloss because I don't really go outdoors that much,
Sure. Yeah.
and even I can make my room also pretty dark, so it's fine. I mean, working at home and all that with this.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I am jealous, but I still have this thing for, I don't know. I mean, it probably has to do a lot with, like, I prefer TV over monitors and all that. So it has a lot to do with having that shiny
Oh,
display.
that actually reminds me, I need to buy a good monitor for my PS.
Curved.
Ideally curved, but I also care a lot about reflections on that one. So
Hmm.
I don't know if anyone has any recommendations or
Recommendations.
something. I'd be open to it.
Oh, speaking of
But
monitor.
it has to be 4K. It has to be high refresh
Ah.
rate, VRR, something that will work really well with the PS5.
So speaking of monitors, this also outputs video quite well actually, and on the larger monitor. So I was good for checking those photos also after capturing, and I even tried it with a display port adapter, and even that worked. So I knew HDMI would work, but DisplayPort also I was quite surprised actually. That's interesting.
I used it with HDMI only.
Yeah. So HDMI, Type C, even DisplayPort. So USB C hub with DisplayPort, it's actually working fine. So
Some advantages of the new USB port.
yeah. But yeah, so I think that's a wrap. So in my personal opinion, I think this has already replaced it. I'm still continuing to use that. Like you said, maybe let's see how far I can go.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be one or two problems in between, a few hurdles, but I'm still surprised that we've gotten so far. Usually it takes only a day or two before we sort of say that no, let's quit and let's stop it. So it is quite promising, and I think things can only get better here on out. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. So thanks, guys. Any questions that you have, let us know in the comment section below. And as Anuj also was asking, let him know if you have any monitor recommendations with 4K high refresh rate, everything.
Yeah.
Funny
Yeah,
would be
in the
that
works.
people start recommending Xiaomi monitors to him. He's like,
Which is quite
if you're
possible.
getting, please get one for me.
Yeah,
also."
for me also. That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. But can I get a monitor? No, right? I get Cotton Customs.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot
Under
to
your
carry.
t-shirt.
For a person who does not like reflecting back, it's a lot of baggage to carry.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. See you in the next one.